Hi, my name's Al and today I'm going to show you how to replace your rear gear cable. If your shifting's gone up the spout, as long as you've not crashed your bike and bent anything, that is your #1 culprit. You don't need a lot to change the gear cable. Some decent cable cutters, an Allen key to unclamp the inner cable. We're working on an Ultegra rear mech here, so it's a 4mm. And we're also going to need a 2mm Allen key to remove the cover from the BB so we can gain access to the internally routed cable. New inner cable and a crimp and a bit of cable outer as well. We're going to replace the last bit that runs into the rear derailleur. It's always worth spending a few extra quid on your gear cables. Buying proper Campag or Shimano ones generally pays dividends. First thing we need to do is to shift all the way down to the smallest sprocket. That's the hardest gear at the back. Once we're there, we can cut the crimp off the end of the cable and undo the cable clamp. Once that's undone, the cable comes free and we can remove it from the rear derailleur, and we can also remove this last bit of cable outer. The shifter end is where the cable comes out from, so we're going to roll the hood back, pull a bit of slack here. In fact, we'll pull the cable all the way out of the frame. Depending on the way that the cables are routed in your bike, there may be plastic sheaths inside the frame, which you probably want to keep in place. In this case, we've got one in the chainstay, but nothing up here. Remove the cable from the shifter. We push on the cable here, we should see it starts to come out. We can pull it all the way out. Next up, grab your new cable, unravel it, and we're going to start to thread it through the shifter. So we need to make sure that we're still in that top gear. It's come out the other side. There's a little flap that covers this side up, and also this white channel, that's where the cable needs to run. And that will be going into the cable outer that's nestled in the end of the shifter here. If we feed the cable in, should come out the end of our outer cable here. And it's very important, rather than just yanking it in, that the nipple on the end of the cable locates properly inside the shifter mechanism. If it overrides that and goes over the top, it could jam the shifter. On the other side, get the little flap and click it back into place. And then we can roll our hood back. Thanks to the wonders of modern cable routing, this is a little trickier than it would be if your cables were routed externally. On this particular bike, it's not too big a deal. So in the BB shell, we have a little cover secured by a couple of bolts. Remove the bolts, cover will come free. And on this bike, you'll be able to see our cable guides. So these are basically little plastic bits of tubing. One of them will be darker than the other because it'll have a cable in it and a lot stiffer. This one here, which is on the drive side of the bike because it runs down the drive side chainstay. Hook it out. So it has no cable in it because we removed that already. So we grab the end of our cable, feed it into the down tube. With a bit of luck, bit of jiggling around, we should see it appear with a BB shell. If the cable doesn't come out first time, and give it a little bend to help it go in the direction it needs to go. So with a bit of jiggling and poking, got the cable out, make sure it doesn't drop back inside. We'll locate front bit of outer into its stop, and then back here, we're threading the end of the cable down the tube, and you see it's come out at the back of the bike. We can now refit our cover. It makes sense to use a little bit of low strength Loctite, like some 243 Loctite, or a bit of anti-seize, because you get a lot of spray down here and you want to be able to remove these bolts easily. Just nip those up, they're only tiny. Before we fit our cable, we're just going to wind the barrel adjuster all the way in and then back it out a couple of turns just so we've got enough adjustment there. Take your inner cable and thread it through your new section of outer and then pass that through the barrel adjuster and out through the rear derailleur. You need to make sure that this piece of outer is as short as possible while still providing a smooth run. That'll help your gears to work properly. Now we're going to clamp the cable. You'll see on this Ultegra mech, there's an arrow marking where the cable needs to go through the clamp. Pass it underneath the washer and then there's a groove on the other side. Just pull the cable taut by hand and secure it in place. With the cable clamped, I'm going to trim it nice and short and make sure it doesn't fray by fitting a cable crimp. So now we've got the cable clamped, we need to adjust the gears. What we're looking at here is the indexing. So we're not going to be playing around with any of the other adjustments. As long as nothing's been bent, then there's no reason to play around with either of the stops. So your high and your low stop, that will be unaffected by changing the cable. So it's all about cable tension, which is your indexing. So with any luck, with that cable tension by hand, then one click up on the shifter should translate to one sprocket being shifted at the back. Now you can see, well, it just about managed it. So what we need is a little bit more cable tension. So to do that, we're going to wind out the barrel adjuster. And what we're aiming to do is to line up this upper guide pulley or jockey wheel with this second sprocket, so the second smallest sprocket. Once we've lined those up, we should find that the gears are indexed and it shifts smoothly across the cassette. That seems to be pretty much spot on. If we found that, say for instance, we had too much tension and we clicked up one gear, you might find that it shifts two gears, or it's perhaps just trying to override that sprocket. You might hear that noise that you get in there. So just need to get that spot on, lined up with that sprocket, and then all our gears should work properly. If there's any issue across the block, once it's indexed correctly, then you want to be looking at sorting out any misalignment. It could be that your mech hanger is bent, or possibly your mech itself. But that's it, gears should all be running sweet now. Perhaps next time your gears aren't working properly, before you start throwing money at new mechs or shifters, then have a look at your cable. It might be a really simple solution, cost you a few quid, sort it out, get your gears shifting sweet again. Thanks for watching, cheers, see you next time.